Yo, what up, what up? It's your boy Snyp Life, D Block's own. I'm rocking with my boy Mikey T, the movie star. It's lit.
Snyp Life, man, I really appreciate you joining me today. It's an honor to have a D Block legend on the show. Further than that, though, someone from the L.O.X era on my channel today.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here, man. I told you when I first ever met you, I was a fan of your work. So, you know what I mean? I'm just as appreciative of being on here. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you, man. So Snyp, I want to ask you, like, when did you first get started in music?
Man, shit, I remember I wrote my first rhyme when I was 9 years old, man. You know what I'm saying? I wrote my first rhyme when I was 9, and I was able to memorize the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech for an assembly in school. And that was the day that I realized that not only that I knew I was nice, but I had a keen, sharp memory. And like, just as a side pocket note, you know, I haven't literally wrote a rhyme in a bunch of years. I know that shit is cliche. You know, people say, oh, you don't write rhyme. Everybody say that. But for me, that's where it started. It started when I was 9, when I was writing rhymes and I was able to memorize a speech of that length. You know what I'm saying? I would just remember being a kid in the crib and, you know, little kid playing with toys. My mom's cleaning up the crib and I would hear a lot of Eric B. and Rakim. That was one of my favorites. I would hear a lot of Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane is like, I put him in a Mount Rushmore hip hop. You know what I mean? For me personally, that's what made me want to start writing rhymes. Just as a kid, you know. You know, that was the golden era. You know, I grew up in the golden era and the crack era. So, you know, that's what it was about. And hip hop was a heavy influence in my household. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably where it started for me. You know what I'm saying?
So Snyp, let me ask you, when did you first see that you could actually touch the music industry? You know, I hear you started writing young when you were 9. When did you see that there was a hope for you to actually get involved with the music industry, though?
Yeah, I think the first part of my journey was more writing the rhymes, being a fan of the culture, growing up, you know what I mean, with the culture. You know what I mean? You can hear the difference in people's music. Like, you know, it's a difference when you grow on to the culture or you grew up with it. And I grew up with the culture. So the first half was really just for the love. I didn't really care about the money. I just cared about being recognized for my talent, that I knew I was nice. And I think I got that actually a little older, obviously, than 9. You know what I'm saying? But I think I got that like my preteen years, before I was even a teenager. You know, as the story goes, you know, I'm from the block where the L.O.X called their home. So when I got a chance to rap in a cypher with them, and the OGs from the neighborhood would send for me when they were rhyming in the front, you know what I mean? I think that's when I knew, because, like, truth be told, if you quote unquote you a street rapper, or you know you from the other side and you do music and you outside with it, if the OGs in the hood ain't never called for you, then you got a lot more work to do. And I was just a kid. Like I said, I don't want people to get it confused. The L.O.X are the big bros. They were older, you know what I mean? But for my peers and the next generation after them, I was the nicest one. And they used to always pit me with them. They used to put me with them when I was 12 and 13. You know what I'm saying? And I would go in and we would just be, and I had 1,000 rhymes back then. You know what I'm saying? So I think just the fact that they even gave me the opportunity to rap with them in that type of setting let me know I had something special.
So Snyp Life, take me into it then. Is that how you were originally introduced to the L.O.X, Jadakiss, Styles P, and Sheek? Was it through some of the OGs? Were they all together at that point? Take me into that.
Good question. Originally, I just want to put that out there. Originally, I'm from Mount Vernon. I'm from money earning Mount Vernon. Rest in peace, Hev. That's where I got my start from. I want to say, I was born and raised in Mount Vernon, but I grew up in Yonkers. Everything happened for me in Yonkers. Getting money, getting girls, and rapping. The scrapping, I was already built for that, because that's what I came from. You know what I mean? For a city that was 4 square miles, Mount Vernon is a very tough neighborhood to grow up in. And I think a lot of people from the outside kind of had that misconstrued, thinking like we was just some little small ass town. You know what I mean? I don't know another town. I don't know another city in this state that actually had to patrol state troopers to patrol the city because the local cops couldn't control us. Again, that was the first part of my essence. But now just to bring you into, you know, the music side, the part where I really grew up at, again, it was just coincidental. I moved to this neighborhood. Whitney Young, AKA 354, which is my company that's incorporated that I've had for over 10 years. I was the first one from my neighborhood to incorporate my block. The L.O.X was the first guys to mention our block in a rhyme. So a lot of people was thinking, you know, the L.O.X and 354 was like the same thing. It was just our stomping ground. That's where we chilled at. You know what I mean? That's where shit happened. And I didn't really need to get introduced to him because I lived here. So I step outside, you know, and that's just, you know, relationships start. Relationships build. People see how you move, how you act, how you carry yourself. And yes, the OGs took a liking to me. My mom's was a Harlem girl. You know what I mean? My mom's had me young. I grew up with my moms. My mom's taught me a lot about respect, responsibility, and integrity. And I was an old soul. I was a lot more advanced than a lot of my peers at that particular time. So just the fact that the OGs loved me and I was a kid that could stay outside late and be right in the midst of it, I think that's where they embraced me at. You know, and I say that to say, because a lot of people that and I don't expect the whole world to know who the hell I am all the time. There's a lot of people that kind of just get on to me. They don't know my track record goes back over 10 years. And, you know, the similarities or the comparisons, that's where it started. Like we stood on the same curb. I beat on the mailbox and did the rhymes the same way they did. You know what I mean? So that classic bounce, yeah, that's embedded in me. That bounce where you don't need no music and you rhyme and you do like this, that's that bounce. And that's something that you get only from that type of culture, that type of cloth at that particular time. And I mastered it because I was outside so much and I was right there, even though I was younger. And I never pulled rank on my brothers, but also at the same time, you see, they never pulled rank on me because they know I'm one of the last ones. I'm one of the few that could say I was right there. And the ill shit is that I want to say this though. Rest in peace, my dog, you know, the grand champ X. X touched all of us. You know what I'm saying? And I was blessed to have a relationship with him. You know, a lot of people would say they from my town, or a lot of people would be from somewhere and they know somebody and it's just like, yo, what's up, in passing. Nah, that ain't fucking with nobody. Like, you know of them. When you fuck with somebody, you go on missions with them. You know what I mean? You get busy with them. You know what I'm saying? And they drop jewels on you. And I got that from X. And I got that from the L.O.X as a shorty. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to put that part in there. This is really all part of my essence. You know what I mean? And out of the younger cats, I was the most advanced. I was the most serious. And I ain't play no games with this shit, though. Like, this was really my life. I put blood, sweat, and tears into it. My knuckles got scraped up, my elbows. Like, I really lived it hard. And they seen that and they recognized that and they embraced me for that because I was so young and I got it's like, you get it. You know what I'm saying?
So, yo, I want to ask you, what did the L.O.X do in the early years to make that impression on New York? I
mean, yo, if you ask anybody from Yonkers, and that's what I was about to say, so I'm glad you just brought that back. Yo, DMX and the L.O.X, let me tell you something. Them niggas was always stars. Understand what I'm saying to you. When you was around these cats in the early 90s and the mid 90s, they just had an aura. They just had this energy about them. Like you knew, like nigga, these is fucking ghetto superstars. Nobody knew who the hell the L.O.X was. Nobody knew who the hell DMX was. But when you got around them, you knew, like, damn, this nigga's a star. And that's something that you can't buy. You can't fake that shit. And I was just blessed to be around it. Right there, you know what I mean? And I think it just took the time, you know, it just everything with time happens when it's supposed to. And we already knew the world would already catch on. They would just catch on later. You know what I'm saying? I want to give you a fun fact first. I'm gonna give you a fun fact that I don't think you've ever heard before.
All right, talk to me.
Louch and Kiss, they hit the ground running with this rap shit. For as long as anybody could ever remember, those dudes was nice. They always made their pen move. Styles was a late bloomer. A lot of people don't know this, but the original idea was that Louch and Kiss were gonna make Styles their artist. Styles was supposed to be their artist initially. Now let's just entertain that for a second. Think about that. Can you imagine the L.O.X being Kiss and Louch and D-Block being Styles P? You know, as history has it, P developed and advanced so fast. Like, there's no way he could be their artist. Like, he has to be the third key to that triangle. They all three bosses. But I'm just giving y'all the initial perception was that they were going to make him his artist, their artist.
So going from there, what do you remember about the L.O.X then linking a deal with Diddy in the mid-90s?
Shit, man. When I came to the neighborhood, it was the Warlocks. This was the era of black radios, Panasonic, Sony's, whatever you had, and tapes. And you would run around playing your music off the radio. And the Warlocks made tapes for the hood. And DMX made tapes for the hood. The ill shit about X was, it's my dog. One side of his tape would have 20 freestyles. Then you'd flip the tape over, it'd be wild salsa, wild Spanish music. You know what I'm saying? So it was a hood, it was like a hood thing. Like, you know, I'm just dubbing this side. You know, you flip it over, there ain't even nothing on that side. Just keep it on this side. And I knew all of those raps, man. You know what I mean? And this is before Diddy, you know, obviously. But, you know, this was a transition for me around that time because, again, the shit that come with the territory. By no means do I want anybody watching this during this story to take any of this as if it was being glorified. And in my present sense, I'm telling y'all, I'm not proud of a lot of the shit I did. You know what I mean? I did a lot of shit because I felt I had to at the time. It's just what I had to do. But you know what comes with the territory when you outside. You know what I'm saying? And, going to jail, drama, shootouts and just a lot of different shit, kept me from really focusing on the music at that time. It became a second thing. I started going out of town. You know what I mean? I'm selling crack 1,000,000 miles a minute. And I would come back to the block and it would be the stories, they was around big or they brought Mace through my hood. And, I would hear the stories and shit. And, just the meetings and, they started, warming up the clue tapes. And, all this shit was inevitable. I would just sit back and smile because it's like, I already knew this shit. We seen this movie, man. Y'all late. You know what I'm saying? And all the people that I would talk shit to, because I used to be out of town a lot. And they didn't know I used to have pictures. Yo, the Lots, these my niggas, they from my hood. They'd be like, yeah, all right, whatever. And then it started to heat up. So it's like, yo, those cats you was talking about. And I'll be looking like, yeah, I know, nigga. But that's where everything happened, with the transitions. They made their transition around the time when I made my transition. They had a positive transition. I had a negative transition. You know what I'm saying? Just keeping it a buck.
I hear you, man. So the L.O.X linking with Bad Boy Records, that didn't change your lifestyle whatsoever? I mean, being in different studios, different cities?
Oh, I mean, for me, again, man, I was just a little homie. I was a young little bro from the block. Louch always would tell, I probably rapped in more ciphers with Louch than the other two. Obviously, I rapped in ciphers with all of them my whole life growing up. But if me and Louch, really had, a little bit of a different relationship. I was a little more closer to him. And he would say things like, when we get on, I got you on, not when we drop a mixtape or something. When we start dropping albums, got you. You already know you got a spot with me. You know what I mean? So, I held on to that. And that was inspirational for me, being a kid, looking up to these guys and being accepted. And me being in their plans, but again, I was stubborn, I was my own man, you know what I mean? I wasn't a hanger. I didn't play back pockets. I wasn't with that shit. I'm sticking right up under your ass. I ain't doing that. I'm the type of guy, if we get in the party together, we get in, I'll tell you, yo, meet me over there. I'm going to go this way. Y'all go this way. I'll meet you over there. Some cats would get in the party with them and hang right on their back pocket. Everywhere they turn, it's like, damn, nigga, you right on my ass. I've never been that type of guy. So I say that to say, when that transition was happening for him, you know, I was doing my own thing. You know what I mean? I was getting money. So I was, you know, the time that I needed to be responsible enough to stay with the pressure that I had on in these other cities, I had to be more hands-on. I had to be more involved. So my presence, I wasn't around to catch those moments, to catch some of those waves. I was just there to catch some of the stories when they came back from the parties or when they came back from the studio, you know, and how Big would be in there with the chewing gum, watching them with the side eye. And, you know what I mean? I heard all of the ill stories, you know what I mean? And when they really submitted that situation, like I said, they made a positive transition. My transition was negative because, you know, I had to pay my debt to society. So the second when they actually really got with Bad Boy, I was in jail. I missed the whole wave. I missed the first album. I missed the second album, Cash Money, Rough Rider Tour, DMX first album, second album, third album. I missed all that shit. I was in a can.
Did you get any word of when the relationship seemed to be strained with the L.O.X and Bad Boy, and there were years when the L.O.X actually wanted off of Bad Boy? Did you catch word of that? Did you hear anything?
Yeah, and you know, I was in jail, so you know, I was at this time reading the magazines, you know, Source, you know, Vibe magazines, and you know, we seen what was going on. You know what I mean? It was crazy, you know. It's just something that's part of their story that they had to go through. You know what I mean? And, you know, I was cheering for them, you know, from in the mountains. You know what I mean? Like the first video is crazy because the first video I believe they dropped on Bad Boy was If You Think I'm Jiggy. You know what I mean? And I was in jail and I locked out of my cell because I heard the distinct voice. And I looked on the TV and I was on Keep Lock. And I was on Keep Lock. So I just came out the cell and went crazy. Like, yo. It was amazing. The Money, Power, Respect video, that was in Yonkers. That's around my hood. I went crazy seeing that shit. So, you know, it was exciting. It was an excitement time, man. It was exciting. Man, I had arguments. I had fist fights just over these guys, man. Just like, yo, those my niggas. Yo, I'm going to be with them niggas when I go home. Niggas like, nigga, you don't know them niggas. You ain't going to be. You know, and it start from there. Like, man, so many ill stories, man. But, yeah, man, that probably was a tough time for them. But they also learned a lot from that. You know what I mean? And they was able to, you know, make the proper transition and just do their own thing. So that was cool. And now, you know, everything's 100. So, you know, but during that time, I don't really have like no real comment on it as far as my insight because I was in jail. Huh? You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I want to talk to you about a story that has been all over the internet and all over the streets. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you about a story. And it's kind of like when Ice Cube ran up in Priority Records with the baseball bat and smashed up all the plaques. You know, I just want to put it in context like that. So I know you were in jail for the majority of their deal with Bad Boy, but when you got out, did they ever talk to you? Did Styles ever talk to you or Jada ever talk to you about when they threw the chair at Diddy? One, were you there? You weren't there. Two, did they tell you about it?
I mean, I heard about it. Hood, that's hood. You know, you sit around the hood. We heard that. I heard that 100 times, and it's not fabricated. If that's what it's not a myth. Just you know what I mean. That much I know. It wasn't a myth.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Ice Cube. It's kind of reminiscent of what Ice Cube did to me, man. Like showing these labels.
You gotta remember, Mikey T. The industry wasn't ready for this type of shit. The industry was not ready for the L.O.X. The industry was not ready for DMX and the Rough Riders. Like, these guys really came from the street, dog. Like, this wasn't no made up for TV type of shit. When the cameras go off, it's really like that. You know what I mean? And, you know, X with the dogs and the pit bull. Like, this was real shit. You know what I mean? The L.O.X, like, this was real. We outside. Niggas lost their lives over this shit. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like, yo, I'm getting jiggy. You know what I mean? I'm doing the whole getting jiggy on the video. At least do me right. And I'm not throwing any shade at Puff. You know, I think he's a great businessman. The L.O.X, obviously, God MCs to me. I had actually met Puff once, Snyp. You know, I tried to show him respect. You know, I think the respect he would have wanted. I made sure to approach him and introduce myself. Yo, Puff, I'm Mikey T, the movie star. Shook his hand. At least introduce myself. You know what I mean? But when I went outside to smoke, he thought I was like running up on him like paparazzi with the camera. But I was just going to my whip to smoke. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, you know, I don't really be having too much to say about certain shit. You know what I mean? Like, I get it respectfully. I don't give two shits about that. You know what I mean? I really care about, like, you know, I'm like you, though. Like, I care more about how somebody treat me when they see me. You know what I mean? So I understand where you're coming from. You know, Diddy got ties to my home roots, Mount Vernon. You know, if you ask the right person, they'll tell you he's from Mount Vernon. You know what I mean? All I know is that when I was living in the town, he would do a lot of dope things, like when Hev would throw the cookouts, you know, Diddy would come through and, you know, he would give out the chambers, the shades, you know, from the videos that you would see them in, and he would come out with a big box and just pass out, you know, dudes should give niggas shirts and shit. But a lot of my peoples have their own relationship with Diddy. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's like, who am I to even, you know what I mean, comment on somebody else shit? But, you know what I mean? I just think it was a great learning experience for the L.O.X. Everybody's in a great place. One thing that you would never take from Diddy is that when Diddy touch you, you will be a fucking superstar. You know what I'm saying? Now, everything else, all the other shit, that's a whole nother conversation. But Diddy took my niggas and he made them household names. He took my niggas and made them superstars. And they was already super nice. You know what I mean?